Okay, so we are going to talk through just a few form checks. Basically, these are people that come to my gym, and I've worked with some of them on rowing, some of them I haven't. And we're just going to talk through some things that might make their stroke more efficient. So, two things I saw with Sally here is one, she's really kind of leaning forward into that stroke, and that's just putting her in a less optimal position at the catch here in order to really recruit the strength of her legs. Because her body is so lean forward, her chest is kind of collapsed onto her knees. Now, it doesn't mean you need to row super rigidly. It just means we probably don't want that much kind of diving forward into that recovery right here. The second thing I'm seeing is that her feet are pulling up against the straps as she's rowing, and that, we're just getting a little pull right there of the toes against the foot stretcher, and that's just going to make her hip flexor do a lot more work than is necessary. And so I have her stop, and I make her tighten those straps. So if you've got the time, go ahead, tighten those straps. We don't need to abuse them, but we do want to use them. And then I'm letting her know that I don't need her to swing her body over quite so much. So really kind of 10 degrees in either direction, to the finish and to the catch. Now, it ends up with a slightly more robotic stroke to start, and that's fine. That's also very kind of normal when you're making these changes. But what happens is we end up in a better position here at the catch to really implement the leg drive and get more out of it on every stroke. She's also not pulling, she's getting a little pull of the foot against the straps there, but not nearly as much as before, just because there's just not enough room, not as much room. Okay, so then we have Corinne here, and there's a couple things I noticed when Corinne started rowing that would make her stroke more efficient and kind of get more out of it. The first is that she's kind of pulling in really high, so her handle's kind of going from way up high and then down low. So we could kind of bring that down a little bit, and also don't have to slam yourself with that handle. The second thing is her feet are kind of high, and really it would be beneficial for Corinne to get a little more body angle over, kind of working around your body and getting the most out of each stroke versus letting your body get in the way and kind of feeling that resistance of it, or feeling like you need to splay your legs out to the side. When we have less room to get our body angle over, we end up bending the knees really fast. And that just means our stroke gets really fast. The stroke is much shorter because you're in a much more upright position. And you're just going to get your heart rate up way faster versus getting more out of each stroke. And so we can look at Corinne after I made some corrections. And what you'll see here is she's able to get a little more body angle over because we dropped her feet down at least a notch. That gives her more room to get her body angle from that finished position, allows her to slow down the recovery just a little, and we're not smacking with the handle. Now, looking at this now, I would probably recommend that she keeps the hands up a little bit higher into the catch. You'll see they kind of drop down here into the bottom, but it's more of a minimal thing. But it would probably help kind of elongate that stroke and make it longer. So our goal here with Corinne is to try and make it longer so she can get more body angle over, slow the stroke down so we can utilize the legs and not whip ourselves into a frenzy and get a high heart rate, and that's it. And then lastly, we have Jenny here. One thing you can see here is just making those straps tight enough to put your feet in and then pull them nice and tight. Biggest thing, and this is the most common thing that I see with people, is that they're letting the knees and the arms bend at the same time. So you can see here that the knees are starting to bend and the arms are still bent. Good general rule of thumb is at any given point, either your arms are bent or your legs are bent, not both at the same time. And so she's just letting her knees pop right up out of the finish. Boom, pops right back up, going back into the next stroke. When in actuality, we want to drive the legs down, hold them down while we get the body angle back over, the arms extended, then we bend the knees again. And so it just makes the stroke very short and sets her up in a position where her force is still going forward into the rowing machine, and she's about to try and turn it back to drive through, and it's still going that way. So it becomes a less efficient stroke. And we're also getting kind of a jerking motion between the body as she's trying to drive with the legs. So just a fast moving stroke as we go through. So here I'm going to have her go back to the finish, and I'm going to have her move her fingers so her pinkies are almost on the edge, just so we give ourselves lots of room. Laying back into the finish, and just extend the arms. So really we're kind of breaking it down here. Arms away, body over, and here's where I'll cue her to keep her legs down, and then bend the knees up into the catch. Then drive the legs down, swing the body open, pull in the arms. So arms come away, body follows, then the legs, and then we drive back and come through. And again, this looks super robotic and is often what you might see when someone is learning how to do the stroke. Their brain starts to explode. But when we break it way down like this, we kind of start to break those patterns of my knees or my legs must always be moving. And in the rowing stroke, they stay still for just a second as you get the body angle back over. And this, you can see there, it was very easy for her to kind of pop back into that old habit. And also it's just, she's thinking a lot, right? And I have another video here where she kind of tried to put it together in a little more cohesive sequence. So we're thinking legs, body, arms, body, legs. And we're almost falling into that trap that we saw with Sally in the very beginning with just the body kind of collapsing into the catch. But that's not my biggest problem with Jenny right now. My thing with Jenny is I want her to get that order of operations down. And if we can get that down, then we can worry about the other stuff that we were talking about with Sally. So thinking about those things, the arms, body, legs, these are all very common things that you might see in a stroke with lots of different athletes. So hopefully that's a helpful way to kind of look at the stroke. And I'm always happy to look at your stroke. So send them my way.